if you're looking to structure your training, I would definitely take the approach of don't take the body part approach. I feel like that's not as sustainable. I think if you divide so again, I'm doing a push pull leg, so I have it split in that fashion. If you divide each of those days into your most neurologically taxing session and less neurologically taxing, it will be a lot easier to sustain, and you won't have to get yourself super jacked up for 2 sessions.
2022, the year of the WEAPONX. You heard me say it here on Think Big Bodybuilding Media.
I had no idea what you were going to do.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Brass Tacks with WEAPONX. I'm Scott McNally. All of our programming is brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. We got a couple of codes. You can use the WEAPONX code, or of course you can use our code THINK. Whichever you use, you're going to get some high quality third-party tested supplements. They've got health supplements, performance supplements, some of the best protein powders in the world. WEAPONX, I didn't forget about your...
I was going to call you out. I was going to call you out if you didn't use the sound effect. I didn't be real upset.
I didn't forget. I just had my flow going. Guys, today we've got a fun topic. Derik Oslan, Ifbb Pro, sitting next to me here today. He's been doing 2-a-day training. I have a feeling this conversation is going to be like a do as Derik says, not as Derik does type conversation, because most of you guys probably aren't cut out, including myself, for 2-a-day training. But I want to dig into this and hear all about it. So it's been a little while, man. What's going on? How you been?
Oh, man. Life is good. I did want to plug, since you started the program about True Nutrition. I did want to plug one of the products really quick for you guys. Have you used Abolic yet?
I have not used it, but I've talked to a number of people that have had, including clients.
Need to use, man, you don't understand. There has been a marked difference. Not only I started using it back in prep, and there was a marked difference in my muscle retention during prep while in a deficit, and I can very clearly see the strength differences. Like, I've had days where I didn't use it intentionally, and then I've had days where I did use it just to see if I would experience any type of difference, and it was night and day. So you guys, anyone listening, watching, if you have not tried Abolic, please do yourself a favor and get it. If you get nothing else, it's incredible. Anyway, life is good. I am in a very unique training block split situation that I'm really loving. So I've been training twice a day now for about weight training for about a month and a half now. So basically the way I have it set up is still a push-pull leg split, but I split each of those days into 2 sessions, a morning session and an afternoon session. Now, the thought process behind that, I'm just going to get right into it, is if my activity level is higher throughout the day, so this is not necessarily in order of importance, but when my prep time comes around, pre-contest, I might not have to do as much cardio as I normally do because I'll be expending more calories throughout the day.
Okay.
So I'm taking energy balance into consideration. 2, as you, myself, and others have discussed on the show a lot, in order to get the maximum amount that you can out of your physique, it's about how much you can, so first of all, how strong you get and how much work capacity you can handle and still recover from it.
Yeah.
So there is an aspect of this where I'm just trying to push the limits of what I am capable of going through and still coming back and still being able to improve. So there was a little bit of exploration factor in there. And obviously, if I find out that I can recover from a higher level of volume in terms of the overall expenditure of the day, then I should ultimately improve even more as a bodybuilder than I already was.
Again, I like this idea. I like this idea for you. You know, I always go back to my version, or the thing I think about, the person I think about when I think of like extreme genetics, is the conversation that Scott Stevenson and I had with Brandon Curry, and him talking about his training at Oxygen. And he said that they were at one point doing 2-a-days, and he said it was rough, but you know, Brandon had learned that the more he threw at himself, the better results he got, which isn't the case for most people. But when we take a guy that has extremely great genetics, I am kind of curious to see, well, how much can you handle? So, you know, a guy like yourself, you obviously have better genetics than the average person. I mean, you're able to turn pro. You're an Olympian 212 competitor. You know, you're a guy that I think could potentially be one of those people that could handle more. So this is kind of a cool experiment. I want to ask you, so you're a month in, what are you noticing so far with, like, are you feeling it in your recovery? You know, are you bouncing back quickly, ready for your next workouts? Are you getting beat down at all, or is it just running smooth? How are things?
Surprisingly, it's actually been pretty well. I don't feel too much different than I did when I was doing 1-a-days, as far as like my recovery or like fatigue throughout the day or anything like that. Like, I still have just as high of energy as I normally do. I still, you know, do my normal daily stuff. I don't find myself it's not like I'm coming home and then just like, you know, potatoing out. I've never been like that anyway. But I think a part of that is I gave this a lot of thought. I didn't just kind of throw caution to the wind and just said, oh, I'm just going to divide this up and let's just see how it goes. I really thought about what would be the best way to really split this thing up and make it the most effective, to where I could have the closest level to recovery that I was having with the 1-a-days. So, okay, so this would be a good segue. So, when I was, let's start with push day, right?
Okay.
So I have a couple options here, right? I could split it up by body part, right? Yep. So I could do, you know, a chest only session in the morning, and then I could do shoulders and triceps, or I could do a shoulder only session and then do chest and triceps. I could do the chest and shoulders in the morning and then just have a separate tricep session by itself if I feel like my triceps are lagging them. So, you know, I'm thinking about what is lagging the most, what I want to bring up the most, and I could do it that way. The way I chose to do it, and it just so happened to work really, really well, and the more I thought about it, the more it made sense to do it this way, is I didn't divide it by body part at all. What I did was I divided it from the morning session is where I do my most neurologically taxing session movements.
Okay.
So the morning is all by pressing movements, and then the night is all of my more isolation type of movements things. So I divided it into neurologically taxing and not as neurologically taxing.
Yeah, I get it.
So if you're doing like an incline barbell press, that's obviously going to take more out of you than a cable fly.
Sure.
Or rope extension, something like that. So that's the way I divided it. So I do all of my pressing in the morning, and I do the isolation work at night. So, but each session I'm doing a chest movements, shoulders, and triceps. So I'm able to give everything that I have to my morning neurological session. I'm gonna call it a neurological session. And then I'll get a couple meals in. I'll get like about 2 meals in between. And then I'll have enough juice to get through the other movements, like, you know, cable fly, pec deck, rope extensions. I'm able to do, I'll throw in more like dumbbell raise or cable raise type of movements.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I'm able to get more volume in on the isolation work than I was before, but I can still I'm still able to get the output that I'm looking for. I'm still progressing in my numbers, and I'm still able to recover. So, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, okay, next training day, let's do it again.
I feel like, and I'm thinking to myself, I mean, it's interesting the way you split that up. I feel like I would probably just by default split it up by body part. And if there's anything I've noticed, I feel like I have given less attention to those secondary muscles. Like on a push day, it's like all about the chest, then kind of about the shoulders, and then a little bit about the triceps. So I feel like I'd probably jump in more to that, like do more tricep work personally, just thinking about how that would work for me. But man, how does it feel to like, when I'll use the term like get up, you know what I mean? To get up for training 2 times a day. I guess part of it probably comes down to lifestyle. It probably doesn't work for a lot of people because most people are working like a 9 to 5, and they've got that one window. But even if they did, I just don't, and I'll come back to what I said before. I don't know if it would benefit most people, but are you doing how much more volume would you say you're getting in by splitting it up this way? Is it more volume or is it going to be pretty similar to what you would have done anyway?
No, it's definitely more. So, again, since I just described the push day, I'm going to use that as an example. So, when I was training once a day, this would be my typical setup. I would go chest press of some sort, another chest press. I would do a shoulder press. So it's 1, 2, 3. And then some sort of tricep press, whether it's a heavy skull crusher, whether it's a JM press, whether it's close grip bench, something like that. Okay, so now we're at 4. Then I would do, so that would be the end of my pressing, right? Now, and everything that I'm saying is 2 working sets. Now we have a cable fly. Then we have, I'll typically put depends on how my shoulder feels at that point. I might go and do a shoulder raise as the 6th movement. The 6th movement. Or if I feel like my shoulders need a little bit more of a break from after all of the pressing, then I will put like a rope extension or something like that in the 6th spot just to give my shoulder a little bit more of a break, and then I'll finish with a raise of some sort. So that's 7 movements, 2 working sets per movement, so that's 14 sets.
Okay.
Now, in the morning session, it'll typically be that the morning session alone will be about 5 to 6 movements, especially if I do a superset. So like lately what I've been doing, I originally started doing 1 exercise at a time, but the last few weeks what I've done is I would do a chest press by itself. I really, really like incline Smith press a lot. That's probably my favorite. Incline hammer would be like my second favorite. So I would start with either an incline Smith or an incline hammer strength. Then I would do a superset of like a flat chest press and I don't know. Actually, we have a lot of different chest machines in the gym, or a dumbbell press and a machine, or chest press and I really like pec minor dips, which John Meadows made pretty popular, or just regular dips, but like I'm having a very significant forward lean, so I can engage more of the pec fibers. How do
you do a pec minor dip?
It's literally scapular elevation and depression in the dip position. So you'll be so you'll be standing up, right? You'll be hanging on the you'll be suspended, holding yourself up on the dip apparatus handles, and then you're literally doing this, and you're using your scapular depression to engage your pec fibers.
Oh damn! I've never done that.
I had never heard or done that before until I did a John Meadows program back in 2016.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I really like them. So,
okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna ask, how long do each one of the workout you're describing, 5-6 movements? How long does that workout take?
An hour.
Okay.
Maybe like an hour and some change.
Okay.
I don't mess around too much.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty locked in, and the membership that we have at the gym is also you know, whether they're competitors or not, are all pretty much very serious lifters. It's not like a I guess I shouldn't say any gym names because we might get sued. You know,
we won't get sued. We won't get sued. Say it.
You know, your commercial gyms, like a Crunch Fitness or you know, whatever, like something like that, more mainstream, where everybody goes in and you walk in and everyone is talking and no one is lifting, or an LA Fitness or whatever. So our gym isn't like that, so I don't have to worry about like being interrupted in between, you know, and that suddenly my workout takes 2.5 hours or something like that. So I'll typically do like 5 movements, 6 movements, especially if I'm doing supersets. So 1 chest movement, and then I'll do a superset, and then I'll do a shoulder movement, either a high incline Smith or a hammer machine, and then I'll do a superset of dumbbell presses, overhead dumbbell presses, along with a machine press, or some sort of machine press, whether it's a seated or we have a Viking press at the gym, which I really, really love. And that'll be the session. That'll be session 1.
Okay.
So 6 movements, 2 working sets per movement, done.
So then how long until the next session? How many meals do you have between that? 2 meals. So you get out of that, you eat some food. A couple hours later, you eat some more food.
And then an hour after that, I'll typically train again.
Are you using like pre-workouts and stuff like that? Anything like that?
Just EAAs.
Okay, so you hit some EAAs each time.
Because that's all Dave has in the program. So that's all I use.
We haven't mentioned it. You're working with, I don't think we mentioned it. You're working with Dave Kalick now.
Yes. So anyone that has been a fan of the program for some time, I'm sure you have heard a multitude of episodes that has had Dave in them. Now, I've known Dave for years. I competed against his client Adam Young quite a number of times. Yeah. So I've seen Dave at like a lot of the shows that I've done. So I've known him for a while. He's a super nice guy, has always talked to me, has always been super, super friendly. I didn't really become privy to how knowledgeable he actually was until I started listening to the podcast.
No kidding.
So when I became a fan of Think Big, or Advices as it was previously known, that's when I started becoming more aware of who Dave was and what he was like and how much he knew. So when I came into the market looking for a new coach, he was one of the guys that I wanted to inquire with and work with.
That's cool. And I think you guys will be a good fit too. I know Dave's he's really passionate. Like he genuinely cares about everybody that he works with. I think you guys would be a good fit.
Extremely enthusiastic about bodybuilding.
Yes, he is, isn't he?
Extremely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually really refreshing. It's almost like a childlike innocence.
He'll call me. He'll be like, "Hey, I wanted to know what do you think is going to happen at the show this weekend? What's your top 5?" I'll be like, "I got a quick question." Wait, are you asking
me?
No, he'll ask me. He'll like call me. He'll just like call me out of the blue, and I'll be like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Be like, "Hey, I wanted to know what you think of the show this weekend. Who's your top 5?" And then he'll lay me on me his top 5 and tell me like break down why each guy. You're right, man. He does have like super big passion for the sport. It's cool to see.
He'll call me and he'll be like, "Hey, so I was just thinking about some stuff. So I just want to run this by you really quick. So just so you know, we're gonna fucking win in quarter turns next year. So that's not even that's literally how he starts the conversation. I'm like, holy shit! All right, dude, it's 8 a.m. Why are you trying to get me jacked up so early?
Yeah.
It's funny. I love him. I love him a lot.
We got a question here actually about your plan.
Yes.
How would you manage your peri-workout nutrition for this plan? So, I mean, you got a lot of pre-workout meals going on here, basically.
Like Scott said, do as I say, maybe not as I do. So I just do EAAs, like a scoop of EAAs for each session, and that's more than enough for me. I feel really good. It's working very well, and I'm riding that.
You eat food too, so there's that.
Well, yeah. So like I'm eating I'm eating before each session and I'm eating after each session, like, just like you normally would with pre and post workout meals.
Okay.
But maybe even with that, doing exactly what I'm doing, maybe not everybody would be able to recover the way that they should. And also maybe muscular wise, you might be able to recover because you're feeding enough, but maybe your joints may not like it. Yeah. So that's another thing to consider as well. If you're very achy as opposed to being muscularly sore, that might be a sign to this, approaching things this way isn't for you. But so I'll usually have 2 meals in before I do the first session.
Yep.
I'll eat 2 more meals after that.
Yep.
And then then that would be meal 5, which would also have carbs in it. A little bit less right now, Dave. Like I said before we started recording, Dave has been slowly shaving the food off so that we can kind of get ahead of the curve in terms of conditioning leading into next season. So that meal 5 will have a little bit of less carbs, and then meal 6 doesn't have any carbs in it. It's just protein and veggies.
Okay. I'm kind of going the opposite. I've been doing a less training. I've been doing an upper lower split lately.
I think you posted about that in your story recently. I think
I might have.
Or maybe you said it in one of the episodes.
I haven't talked about it much on the shows, but I like it, man. Because just having been sick and then gotten a lot better, and then had gotten the vax so I could go to Canada. I got sick from that. Vax. Yeah, got sick from that, and then I got a little bit better, and then I got sick from the second one. I'm finally when I got to Canada, I really got in a groove. I was training at the YMCA, hitting an upper lower split, and I've recommended it to a couple guys who've been struggling with their plans lately, because it's I'd say it's like the opposite of what you're doing. It's just trying to do the least, basically make the most out of each training session so that I can basically get away with, if I train 4 times a week, that means I've hit my entire body twice. Now, each workout isn't it's not a super intense workout for me right now. You know what I mean? It's if you're training your entire upper body, you can only do so many sets and so many exercises, for each muscle group, but that's fine for me right now. I'm loving it. So I guess, just throwing it out there. I'm kind of at the opposite, squeezing everything in to that one workout. And it'll continue to evolve, though. But I'm liking it. It's working out for me really good.
How many days a week are you training?
It depends on how well I feel. Usually, if it may be every other day, I may hit lower body, upper body day off, and lower body, upper body day off. But on average, I'd say I'm training 4 days a week.
Okay. I was asking because I actually did a Meadows program years ago that I forget the name of it, but it was an upper lower split, and I made it through 2-3 weeks of that. Yeah. I think it was now that I think about it, he had tier blocks of volume tiers, kind of like Fortitude training. Yeah. Where you could scale how many days a week you trained based off of how you felt. And I, being a prideful meathead, went for the hardest one right out of the gate, which I think was 6 days a week of upper lower training. Ooh. I made it through 2.5 weeks of that, and I was like, no, this isn't working. I can't do this.
That's a lot, man.
Oh, I and those workouts were long as hell, at least 2.5 hours a clip, and I wasn't standing around talking and too much, and I obviously it's a little bit longer when you have a training partner or whatever, but that was rough. If I knew what I knew now, I might have been able to execute that a little bit better, but
you probably wouldn't have done 6 days a week either. That would have been a lot.
No, I would have done probably 4 and been like, this is cool. Let's do that.
I like that. We had another question.
But I was young and dumb.
Would you use the double split at the end of a training block mesocycle to achieve a functional overreaching?
Honestly, I would put it in the beginning when you're fresh so that you can actually assess your true tolerance to the program. If you're putting it at the end of a cycle, at the end of a mesocycle, you might be a little bit more worn out than if you were coming off of, maybe like a devolume week or like a break from training or something like that.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
I don't think you would be assessing your true capabilities. So I would start off with that and make sure that you can actually handle it when you're fresh, and then get used to it over time. Because just like any type of cardiovascular training, you need to you're going to build up endurance. The only way you're going to do it is by the only way you're going to build up muscular endurance is by doing that type of training for an extended period of time. So you're not going to have the muscular endurance built up if you just suddenly plug this in the middle or the end of a mesocycle. I just don't see how that would be beneficial or work.
Yeah. And I keep going back to it. I can see this because I get there's a lot of people who reach out to us and that they love the idea, especially people that are new to training. And they're like, hey, I love training. I love working out. I love being in the gym, and I'm laid off right now. Or, I could squeeze in a workout before work and a workout after work. And they say, hey, what about two-a-days? Will I make better progress that way? And I think that the reality is that for most people, we can get it done in one routine. I know even Brandon had said when he was doing 2-a-days out there at Oxygen, it was brutal on him. Dusty had done a 2-a-day workout. I think it was a Ronnie Coleman workout that he was doing. And
okay.
You know what he said about it? He said he felt like the entire day was like so bodybuilding focused, because you're either getting ready, you know what it's like, you're getting ready for your workout. There's that mindset that you have going into it. You have to basically be getting ready for a workout constantly. So I feel like that could be a lot of stress. And number one, like CNS stress, SNS stress. And I wonder too, for myself, would that dilute things? Would it dilute my excitement, my energy for the workout? But then again, though, then I think to myself, that second workout isn't going to be as taxing. Like you said, you're hitting all your compound heavy stuff in that first workout. That second workout, you don't need to get up as high for, right?
Correct. So that was one point that I was going to make. So you already touched on that. The second point is, now, again, I can only speak for myself.
Sure.
I own a gym. I'm in there all the time.
You're there anyway.
So it's not like I'm there anyway. So that's another piece of this whole puzzle for me, is I'm just taking advantage of the fact that I'm there so much and that I have the time to do it. Not everyone does have the time to do it. So I will admit I'm very blessed in that regard. Plus, like, if I worked a typical 9 to 5, there's absolutely no way I'm getting up and doing a fasted weight training session just so I can train twice a day. There's absolutely no way that's happening. I'd rather sleep. So, so I'm in a very unique situation. Now, I work a lot. I'm busy all the time. In fact, I have a client that's competing today. So we've been back and forth on the phone, texting, and talking and FaceTiming and whatever. So, and I'm doing that stuff from the minute I wake up, which is, anywhere from 6:30 to 7:30 till pretty much the time that I go to bed. So, yeah, I am working all the time in that sense, but, it's mostly off of my phone, my iPad, technology, and I can do that pretty much anywhere. So I'm just taking advantage of the situation that I have to make sure that I do get better, because, there's some heavy hitters that I have to go up against.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think there is a key here. One thing that I think is really important to look at is that you are trying something different. You don't necessarily know that this is going to be an answer for you, but you've been doing this for a long time. You've been competing for several, years now, and you've developed a hell of a lot of muscle. So, you're at a point now where it's like, hey, I got to try what's people, we get the question all the time, what's the best workout? And it kind of depends, like, well, what are you doing now? Because that's going to play a huge role in what to do next, right?
I think you guys touched on this in the last Blood, Sweat, and Gear, if I'm not mistaken, with Andrew, and I think was Nate on it, or no, not Nate. You had Skip on there.
Okay.
And you guys talked about this because you guys were talking about Mark Dugdale.
Oh yeah,
doing a 2 a day as well. So,
that was Scott. And speaking of Scott, he said that was Scott and Andrew and I. And Scott said Gymaholics Anonymous is taking new members.
Yes. Gymaholics. Listen. I just want to get back to the Olympia, man. I'm gonna do whatever the hell it takes.
Yes.
Plus, I just love to train. I'm crazy a little bit, mildly.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you though.
One of the questions, I just noticed one of the questions here. On paper, it sounds very, very interesting and maybe a brilliant idea, but how feasible would it really be? You should be able to control every variable. Yes, you should be able to control every variable. I, again, am lucky enough and blessed enough to be in a position where I am able to control every single variable. I don't really have anything getting in the way of me executing this.
Yeah, I didn't bring it up because you had kind of already responded to that without knowing, because you said, like you said, you own your own gym and everything.
And I don't want to sound like I'm putting any other. I don't want to come off like I'm trying to put down any other way of life or whatever. I'm just saying that my situation is very unique in the sense that yes, I am working a lot, but because of where I work and me owning a gym, I don't really have to go out of my way. Like if I had to drive to the gym twice a day, maybe it'd be a little bit different. If I had to travel 15, 20, 30 minutes to the gym twice a day, I probably would only train once a day. So I am in a very unique situation where I can control every variable, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that I can. And I'm just, again, trying to push the limits of what are my capabilities and work capacity in the gym and still be able to recover. And if I can do more and still bounce back from it, I should, on paper, end up a better bodybuilder.
Yeah. Hey, you know who else has access to the gym all day long and takes advantage of it? Our prisoners. Prisoners will spread their workouts. This is true, man. Prisoners will spread their workouts out all day long. I've talked about this with Scott that I mean, because here's the reality: we got to squeeze it all into that 1 hour, that 1.5 hours. But they'll do their pull-ups. I'm going to do 100 pull-ups, and then after that, what are they going to do? Take a nap, and then after that, they do 100 bodyweight squats, and then after that, they take. They spread that out all day. Scott's kind of explored this too. Like, I mean, I've asked him, well, what if I were to just do my pull-ups, spread it out through the whole week, instead of doing it all in one day? What if I did one set of pull-ups every day? How would that work out? And there could be some advantage to that. So I think, I'm getting at the training more frequently, that if you're getting the rest, it may be to your advantage. I don't know.
I would think that there would be some form of adaptation pretty quickly, right? So it's kind of like if you only do cardio for your exercise every day. Yes, you're going to lose weight, but there's going to come a point where you're going to hit a plateau and you still need a novel stimulus of some sort.
It would be hard to progress.
It'd be hard to progress.
Yeah.
And with cardiovascular activity, it would come to a point where you would probably be progressing your time and not necessarily progressing your physique and your appearance. So I feel like that would be kind of the same thing with the pull-ups, unless you continually did more pull-ups every single day. I don't know. Now that I'm like talking it out, there could be something to that, but I feel like it would be short term. I don't feel like that would carry over well in the long term. I could be wrong because no one's done it, but
yeah.
that's my thoughts on that.
Scott was putting some thoughts together on that. He said because we were planning to possibly record something here, but anyway, we're going off topic now.
We're getting a lot of comments today, man.
We are. We appreciate everybody watching. Nick Wary, I may need a couple 2-a-days after yesterday. What did Nick Wary do yesterday?
Nick Wary was in an eating contest. They had to eat cans of Spam.
Oh God!
He told me about it. I was like, "You're disgusting." Because he's telling me about his trial runs and stuff. I'm like, "Dude, Spam," and it was like blocky and like I don't. Have you ever eaten Spam before?
No.
Good, because neither have I, and I never will. It just looks and just gross. So they had to eat. So the contest involved how many cans of Spam you could eat in 8 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he actually just did a post on it like a couple hours ago. He got, let's see, I think he said he got 9 cans or 10 cans. It might have been 10.
Yeah.
And he actually broke the world record, but he came in second to a guy who got 13 cans.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I think it was 12. He got 12 cans. The guy who won got 13 cans.
Whew.
There was someone else who got 10, and then his wife got 9 and got 4th place.
It's a lot of Spam.
I think I got that right.
That's a lot of Spam.
Yeah, 12 cans in 8 minutes. See, Scott's on the ball. He knows what's up. He knows what's going on.
12 cans, so that's more than a can a minute.
Yeah, that's and man, I wish I knew how much like each of those cans weighed, like how like the actual Spam itself.
Yeah. Well, listen,
like 8 ounces.
What would be your take-home message? Because I feel like a lot of people who are watching this right now, they're probably tuning in. At least the YouTube people that see this, they click on it and they're like 2-a-day training. I think a lot of people are clicking on it because they're wondering, should they do 2-a-day training? What would be your thoughts overall about the training, and what would be your thoughts to somebody else that was interested in doing it? We'll wrap it up with that.
Okay, so if you're looking to structure your training, I would definitely take the approach of don't take the body part approach. I feel like that's not as sustainable. I think if you divide so again, I'm doing a push pull leg, so I have it split in that fashion. If you divide each of those days into your most neurologically taxing session and less neurologically taxing, it will be a lot easier to sustain, and you won't have to get yourself super jacked up for 2 sessions. You'll get super jacked up for 1, and then the other one you can look forward to, but you don't have to Hulk Hogan it, if you will.
Yes.
So I discussed the push session, right? The pull session, I have it divided between, obviously I have one session of just back and I don't do anything else. And then the other session, I'll do like rear delts and biceps and maybe a shrug.
Okay.
And then with legs, I do like my heavy pressing compound movements in the first session, and then I'll do like the isolation stuff in the second session. And that's how I have it divided, and it works really, really well. And I'm not, you have that little bit of dread going into the gym, like especially if you train hard.
Yeah.
I only have to worry about feeling that one time
a
day. I don't feel it for the second session. I can just go in and still progress my numbers, drive as much blood into the muscle, and just kind of just enjoy the session without the dread of having to load machines and like I know I'm gonna feel really beat up afterwards.
Yeah.
So I would say if you want to test your fortitude, see what I did there. Give it a shot. The worst that could happen is that you don't recover as well from it, or maybe you're not eating enough at this phase of your respective fitness journey that you can recover from it, and then you just abandon it for a little bit until you do have the nutrition coming in to fuel that. But if you are someone who works a typical 9 to 5 and has that very set schedule, I don't think this would work as well. And especially if you're someone who has a family, you're gonna wear yourself out really quick, and you're probably gonna piss off your significant other from being out of the house so much. So
yes,
let's not sacrifice a relationship for the holy gains. I don't think that's a good idea either.
I think that's all good advice, Derik. We look forward to seeing how this comes together. Do you have a website that people can reach you at? Yeah.
So my website is www.wxathletics.com.
WXathletics.com.
Yep. WEAPONX Athletics.
Of course, go to FitFam Tampa. Check that out.
Fam Tampa.
Yep.
Fam Tampa. So if you want to check us out on Instagram, it's at fam.tampa.
Just fam.
Just fam. Yeah. So it's Flex Appeal Miami Tampa location. So the reason why we didn't call it Flex Appeal Tampa is because the acronym is FAT. So I didn't think that would be appropriate for a gym. So
right on. And of course, check out our great sponsor, True Nutrition. Use the code WEAPONX or the code THINK. And guys, we appreciate you hanging with us. WEAPONX, it's great to see you again, man.
Man, I've been looking forward to this all week. So thank you again for having me on. And we're going to do this again soon.
Yes. See you guys.
Bye, everyone.